but come on up. Jackson Bingham is just completed the web development programming program here at MTech, and for their final Angular capstone project, they chose to do it with Ionic, and I guess some people do it with desktop, like with the Angular material, Bootstrap and whatever else. But we'll jump right in. We'll have Jackson present first, and his partner Aaron couldn't be here, project partner, and then after Jackson is done, turn the time to Corey, and that is Capacitor social sharing with dynamic digital images or something like that. All right, great. Take it away.
Okay, so for our project, we created a real-time chat application using Firebase, Angular, and Ionic, and we also added a GIF sharing functionality with it. So basically our tech stack right there, and then we host it on Netlify right now. That's the easiest. And then just some quick stuff about how we structured our data and whatnot. We have a couple main interfaces. So we have our conversations, which consists of an ID, the user IDs of the users involved with that conversation, and the users, the latest message. It'll update every time someone sends a message, and then the messages, which is an array of message types like that, which consists of content, the timestamp, and then the type, whether or not it's a GIF or a regular message, and then just a simple user interface with all of that stuff. And then Aaron's not here to talk about this next part, so I'll keep it a little bit short. But we have our basic Giphy API service here, which let me see if I can use my mouse. I'll show this in a second when we dive into it. But when you open up the GIF sharing menu, it'll show you the latest, I think, 50 trending GIFs on the Giphy API, and it'll fetch those right here when it loads up. And then whenever you search, it'll because there's a search functionality with it to search for it. You can search for it, and it'll query the Giphy API and send it back. So I will pull up the app, and excuse the user profile icons are not loading. We're having some network problems with that, but we have this very simple thing. This page, good thing this is not like official app, because Google would probably sue me for this. But just sign in with Google, and it's tied to the Google user's Google account to just to streamline things like the profile picture and signing in and everything and all the information. Sign with Google. It signs me in with my email. And then there we go. So this is the home landing page built with Ionic. It'll display all the users' chats, the latest ones at the top, and timestamps. Like that. And then we have a profile page, which is not finished yet, but simple log out. And it's using the Firebase Google authentication. Yeah, inside the conversations, we can see here's with Aaron right here. We have all the GIFs loading, everything automatically scrolls to the bottom. Send a message. And then say, here's the GIFs searching thing. Once again, sorry for the network stuff, but it'll show, as you can tell, the network's slow, but because this will load like that in my house. But we can search for one, say we want a Star Wars GIF or something. Search for it, hit enter. MTech Wi-Fi.
Does the Giphy API just return like common GIFs? Is that what
yeah,
default is?
Yeah. So it's like their like when you say you search for it on their website, it'll bring back the most popular ones, kind of thing in that search query. As you can see, it does not like me right now. Why are you doing this when I'm presenting? Anyway, you can see here. You can select the GIF, and it'll send it and display it like that. Then to create a chat, what you do is right here. So you can search for people. So I don't know, let me think. I'll just create a message real quick, a new chat to, I think he's on here. Adrian, here we go. And then it'll add the person here. And if you don't want to have them in the chat, you can remove them. So let's say I want to start a new chat with Adrian. That, and I can click create, and then it'll create it, and it's being slow. Huh. Okay, so the network is refusing to load anything.
Yeah.
There we go. Let's try that again. Sorry, the network connectivity. I keep clicking. So we'll search for Adrian again and create a chat. And he's right here at the top, and it sends a default kind of funny GIF when you create a chat with someone, just like hello there. And then send a message. Let's see if now the GIFs are working. So we can search for, I just have to switch Wi-Fi networks. Search for Star Wars GIFs, click it, send it. Boom. That's simple. And then it also supports group messaging. You can put as many people as you want into a group chat. It's not a good idea, but you can. So,
Why is it not a good idea?
Just because then you're just going to be getting messages constantly. It's going to be kind of annoying. But
Yeah.
The service can handle it. But yeah, I can just say add everybody here. I don't know, just a couple people. Anyway, just a bunch of people you can create a chat with. Like I have, here is I believe it's this one. This one right here is a group chat with like everybody in one of the MTech Web Dev course groups. It's pretty fast, pretty responsive when the Wi-Fi is good, obviously. But yeah, that's the main front end of the app. So I'll go dive into some of the code now.
You said it's out on Netlify.
Netlify, yeah.
Do you have a URL that?
Oh yeah. Let me. Where should I send that to?
I don't know. I think what a good place is.
Oh, yeah, one person.
Yeah, we're good and going.
I can. Oh no, I could probably.
Is it a short URL? You can just
No.
tell us. No.
I could Slack it to you, and then you could send it in the YouTube chat or something like
Yeah.
that. That works.
Okay. Yep.
I have it open somewhere else here.
Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully, there we go. Oh, see, there are the user profile icons. It's loading on here. But yeah, so we have, it'll tie to your user account profile icons. And the way I have it set up is I'll go into the code in a minute, but there's a cool way I have that.
And copy the URL there.
Yeah, let me copy it. I believe this should be the latest build. Let me check. Yes, it is. Okay. I'll just be demoing everything on here from now on, I guess. It's starting to load up. So, into the code now. Or I guess, is there any questions from anybody or anybody online that's watching? Okay. Okay.
I'm curious about your database structure, but I'm guessing they'll get into that.
I'll get into that. Yeah. It's pretty simple, but it's with Firestore. In fact, actually, I think I'll just get into. Okay. So we have we use the default Ionic tab interface stuff to set up with it because if we look at it, it really only needs the 2 tabs here. But one change I was thinking of implementing is putting a like a similar to how the Gmail app looks. It has the search bar at the top with the user profile icon, and that's how you access everything. So there is no nav bar. Okay, so we have the tab 1 here, which has the home page. So this tab 1 right here is this page right here. Tab 1, it holds all the chats, and I have this custom setup with this custom CSS setup stuff here that allows it to, if there's more than one person in the chat, displays the icons accordingly. So like here we have 3 people, it displays them like that, 4 like that. Yeah, the Ionic avatar stuff was really nice to help get those formatted correctly. And then in here, when you click on, so we have, I'll go into the service. So we have the messaging service.
Can you zoom in a little bit too?
Oh.
That's always good for
Sorry.
online.
Let me close the terminal too.
Good.
Okay. So in the messaging service, we have, I believe, we have a couple different ones. So we have this get chats observable right here, which in my opinion isn't the best built observable ever, but this is my first big project with Angular, so I'm still learning it. But we have, it searches through our collection, which I'll get into in a minute, a reference there. And yeah, and so it looks for any array that contains the current user ID. So I have the conversations. They both have parameters that have the user IDs tied to them. And so to look for all the conversations that belong to the current user based on that user ID here. And it orders them by the latest message timestamp and does that descending to get it. So it's your latest chat is always at the top of your screen. Yeah, and then it goes through the user IDs, and right here I have this thing, this right here. So one of the problems that came to mind when building this was if we're tying the users to like the user's Google account, they have all the information that if they update it on the Google account side, would need to also be updated on this side. And so if I just stored all that user data in each of the conversations, it'd be much harder to update, more time consuming, and it just wouldn't be as streamlined. So what I'm doing here is I'm injecting all that user data as it gets the conversation straight from the user data in the database. And then what's creating in, I believe, anyway, we'll get to that second. So yeah, that's how this front page works here. And then if we click on one of these, we have the chat. So we'll get into that next. The chat route. This is the chat. So sorry, I'm trying to find it. So that we have the chat history observable here. And this pulls from, I believe it's get chat observable. Get conversation observable. And so that observable, the get conversation observable, gets all the data about the current conversation that's open and just returns it. It's pretty simple. So each of the objects is a message type. And then this is also
messages are a sub-collection of conversations.
Yes.
Right.
Oh yeah. I should specify that. They are sub-collection of conversations. I think it'd probably be a good time to get into that data structure real quick. Zoom in as much as I can. Okay. So we have two main collections here. We have the chats collection and the users collection. So when a person signs up for the first time with their Gmail account, it creates their authentication stuff with Firebase, and then I have it added to this for easy access to the stuff I want. And I have it update every time they sign in, just to make sure everything's the same. And so this is where it's pulling, no, I'm probably giving away people's user data, sorry. But we have, yeah, so this is where it pulls from when I'm injecting it into the conversations when you open them up to get all those, the correct user information and the profile picture and stuff. And then the chats here, so each of these is a conversation. It has a unique ID and it'll sort through. So say this, where's a good example? So this one has the UIDs. Decent one. Anyway, yeah, so it has the UID. So here's like the latest message here that has the UID. So these are the user IDs of everyone involved in the chat. The person who created it, I've made so it's always the first one, so I can pull that index if I need to. Yeah, so whenever it's searching for those conversations, it looks through these and finds their UIDs. And then the messages collection is pretty simple. This has the to and the from, so that way it can display correctly with the styling on the front end. And the content, and then whether it's a GIF or a regular message. If it's a GIF, it's labeled. If it's not a GIF, then it's not labeled to anything. So that allows it so I can set the image properties correctly on the front end. So yeah, that's our basic data structure there. Again, pretty simple. Firestore was really easy to work with. And the Ionic components works pretty seamlessly with that too. We have the chat page here. So we can see we have an Ion content, and then inside of that we have some custom divs with some custom classes I made. Yeah, so this is the message of each message in the chat history observable, async. It cycles through, and then here you can see it sorting if it's a GIF or not. And then depending on whether or not the user sent it, like if it's from them or not, then we add a, so if current user ID equals message.from, then we display it on one side of the screen and then not on the other side. Just, that's because what we come to expect from instant messaging. Yeah, and then we just have the simple pipes to display the timestamps and stuff. And then here is the Ion footer.
What makes it switch from one side? Is it just classes that makes it switch from one side to the other?
Yeah. So here, well, let me try that again. It's probably a little confusing, but so what I have is there's a current user ID property that I get from the Firebase authentication stuff, and if it matches the from parameter of the message that's being sent, then I assign it a certain class. It's like sent right here.
Oh, there is.
Yeah. And so, yeah, so like
I was looking at the color and I was like, is the color determine the side?
I think I pointed to the wrong spot, but yeah, so let me point here. So yeah, so we have, it displays the primary color if you sent it, and otherwise it's just gray. That's that. And then the Ion toolbar, this is where the GIF stuff is happening. This is what Aaron worked on, the majority of it, the Giphy API. So I'll do my best to explain it, but again, he couldn't make it. So we have here, so this tray that opens up at the bottom here, this is what is contained in here, along with the sending bar and everything. So we have, so we have right here, these inputs and the buttons are just the basic, right here, the buttons, image, send, all that stuff. And then under it, we have an Ion modal, which I love the Ion modals. They work super great. And so we have that programmed. And so when you open it up, how we have it working, as I showed earlier, there's a search function that ties to the search in the Giphy API service. And then when you click on it, it sets the message variables to the correct data, which is the URL to the GIF that we get from the API, and then it sends walk. So we have, so it's right here. And then this is where the GIFs get displayed. And we have a search bar component that Aaron built that ties into that really nicely. And then for the new chat page, which I went over a little bit, but I'll go over it again. You just search for people, and then you click them to remove. You can add people. That one worked. That one's pretty smooth. And the new chat, and yeah. So basically, how I have this working is I have a temporary variable set up that stores the user IDs of people you want to send it to, and then when you're searching, it won't let you say search for the same person twice, as you can tell. And then when you click it, it removes it from both things. So it's pretty.
How does your search interface with Firestore?
With the search here,
Yeah.
it uses an observable. That is, yeah, it's just a simple. I don't know if I can find it. I think we're using just a Angular Firestore DB, and then we search through the DB collection dot users, and we just do a where display name is not in this dot usernames, which is the variable which is the array that it gets added to when you click it. So if it's not in this, then we order by the display name, so it's alphabetical, the first 10 people.
So as you type in A, you're just going to get the first 10 that corresponding to A.
Yeah, and then you can fine grain it and fine tune it. We don't have that many users on the app right now, but that's something that would become a little problematic if there was more. But one of the features I'm wanting to add to expand upon this is make it so there's like a scroll thing where it loads more users as you scroll down, and you have to request a message, because right now there's not that, and that's a little bit of a problem. Yeah, and then so we have the add user. So when you click on it to add the user, it just pushes the user ID to these arrays, and then when you're searching again, it checks, and it's, oh, if that user is in there, don't display them in the search results because we don't want to add them again, kind of thing. And then removing it just does the exact opposite. So that's mainly most of the app there. And then the log app just logs you out.
Yeah, cool. So I pulled it up and I'm trying to shoot you a message.
Oh yeah, let's
See if you log in, see if you have a message from me there.
I have 2 users on there.
Oh, it's the Jackson B.
Yeah, it's going to be the other one. It should just be Jackson Bingham is the one I'm actually logged into.
Okay, the user list didn't show that many users. It stopped in the J's.
Okay.
I couldn't see your name.
Change the message real quick. So,
Yeah, but I mean.
yeah, I have 2 of me on there because I
Yeah.
needed multiple test accounts to set it up.
So if I search for Jack.
It should just be Jackson Bingham. And I think it's a gray J. No, not a gray. Yeah, gray.
Search.
Still a little buggy.
Yeah,
Yeah. In fact, I can hold up and I guess demonstrate the instant chat real quick. So I'll log into one of my test accounts. I believe this is the one, and I can just chat back and forth. Yes, here's my test account. Oh yeah, see, Todd Hale's in here already.
Yeah,
There we go.
Hey, works.
Here we go. And then if I want to message my other account, I have it up here. Here's me. And if you watch, I send it and it puts it to the top of the screen. I can send a message back.
Yeah, I love Firebase.
Firebase is awesome. We can send Patrick or whatever, and it'll instantly. So
Cool.
that's the app there. Feel free to play around with it. If you find any bugs or any suggestions, just shoot them over to me. Appreciate it.
That will do.
So yeah, this was my first real project working with Angular. I'm mostly a React and Vue guy. Was my favorites, but Angular and Ionic work really well together. So,
Any other questions? All right, cool. Thanks. Thanks, Thanks, Jackson.
Yep.
Alrighty. Custom social sharing with Capacitor. I'm going to go a little bit over about me, why we'd want to do this, and then what's required, and then also how to implement it. Little demo, kind of a walkthrough of the code. Oh, reload. Show anyway. Okay, so why would you want to do this? This is something that we did at StoreKit, or that I'm assuming they still do. It's something that allows their customers to like share online, like their accomplishments. So you encourage people to share about your app, and it's custom, right? This person did 600 workouts, and this is right over the line, but it says I've completed 600 workouts. And it's dynamic. I think we did it at like 10, 20, 50, and then like every 100 or something. You get one of these. So this guy's been around a long time. It encourages users to share your app, and then also like gives them encouragement that they're able to share that thing and they'll want to come back, right? Another use case is sharing like dynamic QR codes. This is something that we do in another app I built called Our Attributes, where you scan a QR code to learn about a person that's passed on. And so this is not a Capacitor. Well, we use Capacitor, but it's not a native app. It's just a web app. But with the web app, you're able to get that image and then download it to your computer and like put it somewhere. So if you want to put it on a little paper that someone printed on a paper that people can scan and then share their own tributes about the person that passed on at a funeral or something like that, you can do that. Or you can pop this up and then show it on your phone to have someone just scan when they're with you. So again, kind of dynamically sharing things. Inside OneGoal, this is something that we currently do just for like branded content. But I think in the future, I also want to do this for things that our customers could do as well, like sharing their own goals or sharing something they accomplished. So this is like all on brand. You're able to like change colors of it, add dynamic text, and then it's got the logo in the image every time you share it as well. So this is kind of what I'm going to walk through, but basically it's this little UI that lets you change the text, change the font size if you want to fit it on there. And then you could add an image if you want to as well, change the color. Right here it is dark, or in the red. And then you could change the orientation, whether it's square, if you're going to share it to like Instagram post, or like more like a portrait Instagram story. And that's all dynamic based off of like your SVG design. And then here's the Capacitor social share happening, right? This is a native share inside the app that lets you either copy the image or share it directly to a social media channel or directly to someone through a text message or something else. So the way I did this, and I'm sure there are other ways to do it, but the way I did this was with an SVG, and that's because I'm familiar with Figma. I like creating dynamic images that are like vector based, so they can scale to any size. And then I use Capacitor Share and Capacitor File System so that you can get the right file in order to share it. And then an NPM package called Save SVG as PNG. So basically converts your SVG to a PNG that you can then save and share. There's probably other ways to do this. My little note here, you could probably do this just with Canvas alone, but I'm not familiar with Canvas. So rather than digging into Canvas, I used a plugin from SVG. Okay, so let's jump into the demo. Okay.
And you got this working on the web in addition to that?
Oh yes, we got to work on the web too. So maybe we'll demo the functionality first. So here's the little plugin. For me in my app, I just have a little share icon that's only available to the admin, since I only use it for admin stuff right now. But eventually I'm going to move it into other places as well. But I can zoom this in too. It helps. So when you tap on share, it brings out this little image here. And as I tap on it, I can then start typing and say, hey, this is our Ionic meetup. And then I have some other little fun things. We probably won't demo all of this, but like I can change the color of it, right? And it's still on brand for OneGoal because we have these dynamic colors. And then if I wanted to share portrait or landscape, that resizes. And if you look at this under the hood, we're just going to inspect this. This will kind of help you understand how it's done. And we'll zoom in here as well. So inside this component, we have inside the Ion content, that's our scrollable area, right? We have an SVG that is square. It's my outer SVG. And that SVG, if I change it to the portrait, its height and width changes. Or sorry, the width stays the same, the height changes. But it's actually got a nested SVG that stays the same size. So it's always the 1080 by apparently 1920. But it's basically 1080 by 1080. I think if it, actually not sure why that changed. I'll have to dig into that one. But basically an SVG inside an SVG like lets you nest them so that it's always centered. And then inside that there's my logo that's just bottom right, stuck in one place. And then you'll see the dynamic text, which is just a text field with little T-spans. And then if I needed to, I could also like shrink how many letters are on a, actually I think it's every word. No, I think it's character count. How many characters fit on a line. If I want it to be really small, a lot smaller text, I can shrink that down. Or if I want it to be really big, I can pump this up. Maybe I need a bit of better input for that, but right at that size of the text, maybe I want it to be less characters on a line, right? But you'll see down here, really it's just the T-spans are kind of getting split up into different lines. And then when you hit the share button on desktop, it's just going to download straight to a PNG. And then there's our PNG, right? So it goes from this SVG that's dynamic to a PNG that can be shared anywhere. Alrighty, and then on a simulator, so in a native device, we can do the same thing. So if I open up this share dialog and start typing, I can then hit the share icon and it's going to bring up the native share. That's going to let me save it. I can copy it. If I was on my personal device, it would pop open like Instagram or other apps that allow sharing as well. But for now, I can just copy it and then I can just paste that image. Right, so it allows you to take this content, dynamically share it, and then send it out to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Any questions so far before we jump into it? Okay, so, and I had a little outline to make sure I'm covering the topics here. Give me 1 second. Added a text node, yep, changed some colors. Okay, so I'm just gonna go to this is in Stencil.js, but it's pretty similar to Angular, and then it's basically a class-based component. And then I'm using Ionic components inside of it. So inside this view, there's a header with some you saw those little toggles and little settings that you can use, but the magic really happens like on the text area. So I pass it those dynamic things like text, the background color, how many characters per line, and font size. And inside there, again, it's just an SVG. So I got an outer SVG and an inner SVG. There's my OneGoal logo. That's SVG elements. And then the text that's styled the way I want it to. And I'm not an SVG expert. I basically just created in Figma. So like here's the Figma file I started with, which is this text that we share on our social media. And I can then export this as an SVG. If you've used Figma before, it's here in the bottom right, export as SVG. And then once it's exported, I can open up the SVG and like figure out what all the elements are. I remove the text that I exported. Sometimes I'll just leave the text so that I can kind of line it up. But you could also just delete it and remove it so that you know that you're only getting the elements that you absolutely need. So with the SVG, inside this component, I basically have an SVG inside the DOM, and I have a button down here that says share. And on the share, I basically find the content, grab the SVG, and there should always be an SVG element. This is really just a type check here. But I use an Ionic loading spinner while it does it, because this is an asynchronous action when you're trying to share. So it shows a little loading spinner while it's communicating with the native layer. And then there's a couple of things I do. It runs this, you give it a file name. I use this save SVG, save as PNG URI, which comes from the save as SVG. Sorry, let me hide this since this is not needed. From the save SVG as PNG package. So it takes in an SVG, you pass it like a scale, and that's really just because if you're on an iPhone, it's got like 2 pixels per one, so you'll get a higher resolution image if you're using the right scale. So I pass the scale in there, which I actually think is an optional parameter, but it looks nicer if you use it. And I save it as an SVG, and this is kind of a hack fix that I did, because the first time I tried to do this, it wouldn't, even though it has the font loaded, it wasn't downloading it without the font. In fact, I'll just share the bug with you, just because it's funny, these things that happen.
I hate that kind of stuff.
So when you share it, if I share it with, Corey here, it looks styled here using I think it's the Mooley font, Google font Mooley. But if I export it, oh, look at that. It worked.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you know? It worked this time.
Do you need to
Before it
hard
would,
reload it? I don't know, flush it.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
It's probably just going to work, because that's how demos work. Bugs when you don't want it to. And yeah, so I guess maybe I don't need it anymore.
You got the reverse demo guys.
Yeah.
Working for him.
Originally, like it would download it without the font loaded, so it looked like a serif font, some weird what's the default serif font? I'm trying to remember what it is. But anyway, so loading it twice seemed to get around that problem. But maybe I don't need to do that anymore. That data URI basically returns this base64 encoded string. That's a PNG. So if you pull off the base64 and get everything after the base64, you can then do something with it. In fact, you don't need to do this until down here. But I use the capacitor share API. So if I look up here to where share is, it's just importing capacitor share. And then can share is like a check to see if the platform supports it. So for example, on Chrome here, where I go to share, it doesn't like it. In fact, I think it's just a Mac thing, but because it doesn't let me, because can share returns as false, instead I do this little hack that's generating a download link. In fact, I'll show you that code as well. We basically take in the data URI and a file name. I create a link that's an element on the page, give it the href, make it downloadable, and then I click the link. And that basically runs that whole download script right there that launches this guy. And there's my console log. Share isn't available on this platform. So when share is available, then I use the file system to write this file, that base64 data. I'm just doing it into cache. I don't need to actually store it anywhere on the phone. It's just locally so that I can then send it to another app. And then you take the file name. You want it to have the right extension since it is a PNG. And then once that file URI is created, stored in cache, you can call share.share. And then you can throw a URL on there, the title, some text, or the files. And in my case, we actually don't need any of this if all I want to do is download the image. But when sharing to social and things like that, you can include other things, like some text as well, since the image is going to have the text in it, but maybe it's also nice when you're tweeting it to have plain text to read. And then we catch any errors, and that's it. So really, it's like three sources we need to use. One is the SVG to PNG, and then we use share, and we use this file system write file so we can pass that URI over.
I did a share thing and tried to use the capacitor share for the web, and copy the image and all that stuff. And I ran into some of the issues about not being able to share. But I do remember when I was getting it going, it seems like you don't have to write it to a file. Like you can just stream or.
Like I don't need this anymore?
Yeah, like you don't need the. Yeah.
What would I do? Just
file.
do this?
Yeah, something like that.
Let's give it a go.
But yeah, let's see.
How am I going to know this not reloaded? Sometimes my hot reload like reloads it, but then once I close it, it's not reloaded anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just going to refresh this guy. Okay, so if I hit share now, test, and this will be good because I can see the consoles now too. Where's my clear? If I hit share, look at that. Maybe that's an old thing. Oh no, it just did my testing. So it's copying my text, but it did say two links. It's got 2 links on there. So
Yeah,
maybe there's another thing I could
It might
use.
be one other step or something off.
Or maybe it's because I pulled the base 64 off of there.
Oh, maybe you need to leave.
Maybe I need to leave it there.
Data
So what if
URI.
I just did data URI? Worth a shot. Testing 2. Yeah.
No, okay.
It's copying my text.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'll have to check into that though, because
I'll
that's how I expected
I'll
it
have
to
to
work at the
pull up my
beginning. So
code.
yeah, I'd be curious how you got it working.
But I had some other issues, so I was waiting to see how you use file system. Maybe that helped get around some other issues.
I think now that since I've got this open, I'm pretty sure the native share for Capacitor on Mac works in Safari. It just doesn't work on Chrome. So let me sign in here. Query test. Get out of here. Yeah, see, so there's your native share on Safari that like pulls out. I've never used this before, but it is possible on Safari. So I could then text it to my wife. Oh, not if I got the image, not if I got the link on there. Maybe I can't have the URL on there. It has to just be the files.
See, I would hope and expect that the capacitor share would handle those kind of things.
Yeah.
That's what I
It's
was
just
hoping when I
doing
went
text.
into it, but I ended up writing my completely own clipboard copy.
Copy to clipboard.
Yeah.
But yeah, native wise goes great. So I'll have to look into that file URI as well for files. I think that's it. That's all I got. Yeah. Questions? Comments?
Let me see where capacitor. Did it? There's no other configuration for the share plugin or the file system plugin. You just pull them in to this component and use it.
Right, like the capacitor config doesn't have anything for share.
Yeah.
So you just need to add it, then it works.
Yeah. So do you have share stuff in your Organ Stops?
Organ Stops doesn't, but I am using share in another app I'm building.
Yeah. Capacitor share. Working well for you?
Yeah, I mean, I just threw that one line, await share.share,
Yeah.
and it was done. I'm like, wow, that was too easy.
Yeah.
Are you building for the web too?
Yep. So that app is primarily being built for mobile, but I was using Chrome DevTools to test everything. I'm like, will this work? Yeah, I guess it does.
So the share, I mean,
Yeah,
it
from
was working
Chrome on
Chrome.
Windows, it worked.
Oh, okay. All right. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have to try it again.
Yeah.
Cool. And I mean, are you guys using the latest? Was it 5? Capacitor 5?
This isn't Capacitor 5, no, still
Yeah.
Capacitor 4. But
I think I'm still on board.
Yeah, it's pretty new.
I got a bunch of
5.
plugins that are third party, and I'm still not sure if all of them have to update to 5 before I can do the full update. So